There's a criminal investigation into the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, because he decided to kidnap roughly 50 human beings and lure them into a false opportunity that was never a real promise. That is against the law. Now, let me give you some background to this dynamic. As I shared with you initially in the reporting, what happened to those individuals, those human beings, was in fact a violation of criminal law and their civil rights. It seems as if at least one law enforcement executive agrees with me. Let's go to the video first of the sheriff announcing the investigation. Here it is.
We are opening up a case with an investigation with regard to the suspected activities involving the 48 migrants from Venezuela that, as we understand it at this point, the facts of the case at this point, are that on Wednesday, September 14th, here in Bexar County in the city of San Antonio, our understanding is that a Venezuelan migrant was paid what we would call a bird dog fee to recruit approximately 50 migrants from the area around a migrant resource center on San Pedro here in San Antonio. As we understand it, 48 migrants were lured, I will use the word lured, under false pretenses into staying at a hotel for a couple of days. They were taken by airplane. At a certain point, they were shuttled to an airplane where they were flown to Florida and then eventually flown to Martha's Vineyard, again, under false pretenses is the information that we have, that they were promised work, they were promised the solution to several of their problems. They were taken to Martha's Vineyard from what we can gather for little more than a photo op, video op, and then they were unceremoniously stranded in Martha's Vineyard. What infuriates me the most about this case is that here we have 48 people that are already on hard times, right? They are here legally in our country at that point. They have every right to be where they are. And I believe that they were preyed upon. Somebody came from out of state, preyed upon these people, lured them with promises of a better life, which is what they were absolutely looking for, with the knowledge that they were going to cling to whatever hope they could be offered for a better life, to just be exploited and hoodwinked into making this trip to Florida and then onward to Martha's Vineyard for what I believe to be nothing more than political posturing to make a.
Yeah, he's correct. Sheriff Salazar out of the state of Texas has opened up a criminal investigation into an operation led by Governor DeSantis of Florida. Now, for those who may have an issue with this kind of criminal investigation, and you may question if it's even against the law, let me pose it to you a different way. What if somebody did that to you, or your children, or your parents? Would you consider that to be illegal? They lured you or somebody you love under false pretenses to get into an airplane to drive you or your family across state lines to fly you to a place, drop you off, leave you stranded. Would that be illegal to you? You see, the government did this to these individuals. The government did, which means the government has to follow certain rules. The government cannot violate your due process regardless of your status in the United States of America. At least that is how it's supposed to work. Now, DeSantis, he went on Fox News, safe haven for all things racist, and decided to defend himself, and here it is.
They were fed, they were showered, they were offered haircuts and any other services that they were needed, correct?
Yeah, not only that, they all signed consent forms to go, and then the vendor that is doing this for Florida provided them with a packet that had a map of Martha's Vineyard. It had the numbers for different services on Martha's Vineyard, and then it had numbers for the overall agencies in Massachusetts that handle things involving immigration and refugees. So it was clearly voluntary, and all the other nonsense you're hearing is just not true.
The only person spewing nonsense, Governor, is you. You have already cost the citizens of Florida $600,000 to $700,000. That's the initial calculation of this ridiculous political ploy. You are now going to cost them millions more because they have to defend at least 38 current claims that are coming for you. And then when you lose these claims, that's millions more that the state of Florida will have to pay out. All right, the Texas sheriff said on Monday that his office has opened a criminal investigation into the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' unprecedented move to send nearly 50 migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Last week, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar said the inquiry was in its early stages and he declined to name possible suspects. But in a news conference, he said, and I quote, "Everybody on this call knows, okay, who those names are already." Attorneys representing 30 of the 48, the number has increased since, migrants have asked the Massachusetts Attorney General and the federal government to open criminal investigations. They said the clients were induced to board airplanes and cross state lines under false pretenses. Now, if you remember in the original reporting, I said on day one that the DOJ clearly has jurisdiction here to prosecute both civilly and criminally. I do not think they have the appetite. I do not think they have the capacity based on the political dynamics of what's happening in the world, but they should. They absolutely should. These are 48 human beings. These are people. Did not deserve what happened to them. Think about this. The sheriff is absolutely correct. He's leading with passion and law. He's leading with common sense and protocol. These individuals should have never been in that situation. And for those who put them there, they need to be held accountable. Big ups to the folks in Martha's Vineyard who decided to do the right thing and take care of them. That continues to be a process unfolding now. All right, attorney, how do you see this? Am I wrong by saying what happened to them was not only inhumane, but was in fact criminal? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think anybody you have to argue that it's inhumane with is someone who lacks humanity to begin with and the recognition of it in others. But as far as the law goes, absolutely, it's a violation of the law. Even in the smallest amount, as I understand, there were 3 children that were among that group of migrants. And Texas has a statute that says exploitation of a child is a 3rd-degree felony. So you can at least categorize it under that. There are so many statutes on the books that can be applied here. And I'm really grateful that Sheriff Salazar is investing the resources to prosecute it because again, as you've noted, DOJ should be heavily involved. This is something that involves interstate commerce. We're entering FAA territory as well. There are so many reasons in which the federal government should also be using its resources and getting involved. And also given that it has an exponential amount of resources and the fact that it has yet to really step up and say something is really indicative of how we see others who come to our country as refugees in need of help who are brown or black. And the government needs to show that everyone needs to be treated equally and they need to be treated respectfully, especially by members of government, whether they're at the state or the federal level.
Well said, and just a reminder, refugee status is a legal status in the United States of America. That's why the sheriff made it clear they were legally where they were supposed to be, and that is correct. We're going to continue to follow this story as it develops.